Welcome to Between the Ropes with Jason James. My guest at this time, the commissioner of NWA Main Event, Mr. George Gulas. And George, I understand that you have two major announcements regarding Tennessee Homecoming Thanksgiving night 2008, and one blockbuster announcement regarding the very building that we're sitting in right now, the Tennessee Sports Arena.
Well, Jason, first of all, before I get started, it's a couple of nights ago I was reminiscing about the days gone by, yesteryear, and back in the day of professional wrestling, that the wrestling fan can still remember or may remember, want to know just actually how wrestling got started in this area, the different buildings where we're at now. So I took a pen and some paper and jotted some notes down and put the pen to the paper and wrote some things down. But first, before I go into the history of Nashville wrestling and the fairgrounds, it gives me great pleasure to announce that I've signed a double main event for Thanksgiving. Last week, we announced a two-ring battle royal, and I'll give you more information on that in a moment. But what I'm excited about is the second main event signed on that card. There was a lot of negotiating to get this done and had to go through a lot of red tape, but I've signed a match Thanksgiving night between dangerous Doug Gilbert and his opponent that night, none other than Too Sexy Brian Christopher.
What a huge main event, George. How were you able to get something of that magnitude done for NWA Main Event?
Well, I had to go and pull a lot of ropes, no pun intended, because we're inside the squared circle. But that brings me to another part of the announcement. And before I said that, a lot of towns bidded on that particular match. And we got it here on Thanksgiving night. A lot of negotiation, but it came through, and Nashville should be proud and honored to have a match of that caliber between two of the top wrestlers in the country when Doug Gilbert and Brian Christopher go against each other. And they'll see on Thanksgiving night one great match. But the other announcement is, the Gulas name, as we all know, is legendary in the Mid-South when it comes to wrestling. And I talked to both Brian and Doug on the telephone, and they both said it'd be an honor to be here for this historic event. Plus the fact that these two wouldn't pass an opportunity up to damage one another because of what happened a couple weeks ago. So besides having an honor to be here for that particular night, they've got a score to set.
Now you spoke of this historical event, George, and it only brings me to question, what historical event exactly are you speaking of?
Well, first of all, like I said, I jotted down some notes. I've got it here on paper, just exactly what I was going to talk about. And first, let me give you a little history lesson about Nashville wrestling. My father, Nick Gulas and Roy Welch, brought big-time wrestling to the Mid-South and promoted shows at the old Hippodrome on Western Avenue, which is now currently the Holiday Inn, right across the Vanderbilt football stadium. Then they moved to the Coliseum at the State Fairgrounds here on this sacred area of professional wrestling. The Coliseum was packed every week. My dad had top stars all around the world participate at the Fairgrounds Coliseum. And unfortunately, one night, the Fairgrounds Coliseum went up in smoke and fire and destroyed the building, the ring, the seats, everything involved was destroyed one night prior to a wrestling match at the exact time the match would start. There'd probably be 3,000 or 4,000 people in there, and who knows what would happen. So the Fairgrounds Coliseum was sitting at the old bottom of the hill next to Speedway, was no more. So, remembering who used to be in that particular building, I could go on and on. But we had the defending world's champion 7 times, Lou Thesz. He went against Wilbur Snyder in the building. Also, the boxing great Joe Louis was a special referee from time to time. My dad and Joe were great friends, and he said anytime he needed somebody to come in to settle a score, he'd be glad to come to the square circle as a special referee. It was nothing to see everyone there, from politicians to the plumbers at the Coliseum. One active member, a wrestling fan, a matter of fact, was the ex-governor, Frank Clement Sr. He was a regular in my father's matches, would come weekly. Everybody that was anybody was at the fairgrounds. After the Coliseum burned down, they had no place to go. So inside this ring as we're doing this interview, directly across from this building was the women's building, which sits directly across the parking lot. Later, that wasn't big enough, so they went right next door, which was the agricultural building. That wasn't big enough. The crowd was so big and so large, there was no room to put the fans. Standing room only, almost 2 or 3 times a month. So they got their heads together, and this very building we're sitting in right now, the sports arena, on this ring light brings back so many memories of the past. This was the place that was built for my father, Nick Gulas, to have professional wrestling weekly, and at that time, it was every Wednesday night. One reason also this was built was an office that was right next door. You walked out this door and into the next door over. That was my father's wrestling office. It was very convenient to have everything in one place. So it was an honor to have everything in one building. You could go in from one door and out the other into the arena, and here he was for Wednesday night. Now, to have weekly wrestling provided by that offices, this had to be built. And Governor Clemens had one statement he always said, and I wrote this down, I still remember, you're talking back in the 60s when he made this statement. He would say it was the house that Nick Gulas built. The legendary country music singer, Marty Robbins, who passed away years ago, would always say, when you heard of Nick Gulas, that was a household kitchen word for professional wrestling. So it just wasn't politicians. Country music stars also stayed the same thing. Over the years, Jason, many people have lobbied and tried to keep this certain thing from happening, which I'm about to announce. And you know, truth hurts, and it's hard to mention certain things or certain areas about professional wrestling in this area. But my friend Ian, and my father passed away January of 1991, he finally got the just reward he worked so hard for and to earn in professional wrestling in Nashville Mid-State area. And with great pride, the historical announcement I have to make is simply this. A long time coming, but it's due for it to happen. The National Sports Arena is finally going to be renamed the Nick Gulas Sports Arena.
George, like you said, what a blockbuster announcement. Anyone who studies the history of Nashville wrestling knows that your father was a big part of putting not only Nashville wrestling, but Mid-South wrestling in the wrestling history books. And this has got to be one of the, if not the greatest moments of your life, having your father, this building that we're standing in with so much history, renamed after your father, Nick. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, actually there is, Jason. And on Thanksgiving night, we announced the 2-ring battle royal will mark the beginning of something else besides the 2-ring battle royal. It's a new Nick Gulas Memorial Cup tournament. Now, this was used in the summer, but to commemorate the name of this building, I really think that Thanksgiving, starting this year and every year, will hold the Cup tournament. And in addition to the Cup, the winner will receive $500. So whoever's involved, best of luck all the competitors, because it's a historic night besides the Royal and also the first.
You heard it right here, the Nick Gulas Sports Arena, Thanksgiving night, professional wrestling returns to this very building.
Jason, I'm going to say something else. It may be hard to say this because when you lose somebody close like a parent, a lot of us know that it hurts. I know Thanksgiving night when the lights go out and it gets dim and the ring light like it is now is shining down on us, it's going to shine a little bit brighter. Because my dad will probably be watching over the house that Nick Gulas